January 27th, 2018, Middlesbrough Town Hall, 3CW hysteria. It was the night in which I was doing my first live wrestling commentary, and it was on that night that I shook the hand of Keith Lee for the very first time and got to call a Keith Lee match for the very first time. From then I knew he's one of my faves. He's gonna do big things. So, on this particular night of NXT, with Keith Lee challenging for everything, does that make me slightly biased? A little bit. Am I bothered though? Not a little bit. This is NXT Great American Bash Night 2 Graded. We start hot with a street fight. Candice LeRae and Mia Yim. Yim jumping LeRae as she's making her entrance and chucking a whole lot of plunder into the ring. We've got kendo stick shots, we've got a whole bunch of steel chairs, nearly a table spot early on, and they fight into the crowd. It's everything you'd expect from a hardcore match from the late 90s. I love it. As they're fighting in this cordoned off area near what looks like catering. I'm assuming it's catering. There's some oranges just sat there not being eaten on a table. We see Mia Yim drop kick Candice LeRae through said table, and from there it just continues to escalate. They get back into the ring and Candice is wearing out Mia Yim with steel chairs. We see Yim fight back using a dustbin lid and a cannonball in the corner, and then Yim produces some brass knucks, goes to light up LeRae, but LeRae swings a chair, possibly breaking Mia Yim's hand in the process. We see a whole lot of chairs piled into the center of the ring, and they climb up onto a table that is now positioned in the corner. So they're climbing it up like it's a scaffold. But Yim has the knucks. Yim's going to swing with the knucks, but LeRae manages to get them off of the hand of Yim, clocks her with said knucks, and then hits a swinging neck breaker off of the table through the pile of chairs for the 1, 2, 3. Candice LeRae winning a cracker of an opening match. A match that I am giving A- to. I loved it. Just the tension between these two, perfectly brought to the forefront in an old school hardcore match style. Like an old school street fight, complete with, you know, wear your street fight clothes and hit each other with steel chairs until it doesn't count anymore. It was really, really good. Great way to start the show. Giving it an A-. Bronson Reed faces Tony Nese next. It's at this point that we start to see what is known in the biz as a croyer, which is those things along the bottom of the screen that instead of going to an ad break, they use them to advertise sponsors or other TV shows going on. I don't know how I feel about them, to be honest. I kind of feel like that it distracts me a little bit from some of the stuff that I'm seeing in the ring. But it didn't distract me too much from Reed and Nese. Why have a six-pack when you can have a barrel? That's the lesson that we're learning in this match. Bronson Reed overpowers Nese to get started. Great bit where Nese goes for a leapfrog and Bronson Reed just bats him to the floor. It was beautiful. Nese uses the ring apron to blind Bronson Reed. He takes over there using a very heavy inside cradle for a near fall and a beauty of a springboard lion salt. But Bronson Reed will not be denied tonight. Big old lariat followed by a diving splash off the top rope for the 1, 2, 3. Big win for Big Bronson. A big win that I am giving a B to. Hard-hitting match between two very different styles here. I really enjoyed the stuff they did. I think that Bronson is clearly being set up for something down the road. I think Bronson, I think I said this the other week, is going to be sort of this gatekeeping big guy who some of the main eventers can feud with in between stations. I think there's big things for him. Tony Nese here played his part really well. I know that Nese has a lot of prospects in NXT as well. I enjoyed the work they did together. It was a wonderful contrast. Robert Stone gets rebuffed by Shotzi Blackheart. He offers her a place in the Robert Stone brand, and when she says no, he throws his coffee in sheer anger, not knowing that he's thrown his coffee onto Killian Dane, who hurls Robert Stone into some boxes, and as he's on the ground, Shotzi Blackheart just drives her tank over his leg. And it's during the ad, they do like the picture-in-picture ad breaks through most of this night. And it's during the picture-in-picture where you're either watching adverts for stuff or you're watching Robert Stone selling the fact that he is under a tank like it is death. He is brilliant. Isaiah Swerve Scott faces Johnny Gargano next. Some solid techers from Gargano to get started. Swerve manages to get back into this and it becomes a sped-up strike fest with everybody missing everybody's move, Matrix style. Sort of akin to a Will Ospreay Ricochet type affair with everybody going for moves and everything getting dodged. They continue to swap advantage in this match. We see Swerve hit a flatliner for a near fall. Gargano hits a springboard spear for a near fall. Neither man is really in charge for any more than about 90 seconds each time. Swerve nearly gets it on a JML driver. He then goes for a double stomp to the outside, but Gargano manages to get out of the way. This is all that Gargano needs to get back into this. He pushes Swerve into the post, hits a Poison Rana outside the ring for goodness sake, and then hits the one final beat into the ring for the 1, 2, 3. Giving this a B+. Really unique offering from these two. I thought it was very good. Didn't quite know what to expect from Gargano and Scott, and they gave something that stood out from the rest of the card, which I think is important. I want to see what these guys do with a little bit more on the line, a little bit more than an exhibition match. I want to see a little bit more from that. I thought Swerve handled himself beautifully here. I thought Gargano was great. I thought the finish came a little bit out of nowhere. It just kind of all of a sudden, oh, that's the end of the match, thanks very much. But apart from that, it was good. It was a very good affair. I'd like to see this again, thank you, please. We get a video hyping Io Shirai's NXT Women's Championship defense against Tegan Nox next week. Shirai talks about how Tegan Nox always needed people around her and Shirai stands alone. Tegan Nox talks about how she's been training harder than ever for this particular match. The training montage includes Tegan Nox lifting stuff near a lake and running with her dog. I am predicting a dog heel turn next week. Dog's going to run into the ring. We think she's looking after Tegan Nox. He's going to spear Tegan Nox. I'm calling it now. I am overtired. Trios action now. El Legado del Fantasma take on Breezango and Drake Maverick. We get a Los Conquistadores inspired entrance from Breezango this week. Weird though, because this match is kind of meant to be quite serious, grudge match type affair. So the comedy jarred a little bit, but I quite liked it. The silly bit at the start. I myself am a registered silly bit at the start, so that's probably why. The story in this is that Drake Maverick desperately wants to get his hands on Santos Escobar, but Escobar wants nothing to do with Drake Maverick, and he's just sort of on the ring apron for most of this, just smirking. We see Breeze get worn down. Drake lights up the place, but doesn't get Escobar. Fandango gets involved in this. There's a great bit where Fandango military presses Maverick onto everybody outside of the ring, then follows up with a corkscrew dive himself, lands badly on his foot. That plays into the next part of this match where we see the Legado del Fantasma wearing down on Fandango. He eventually makes a break for it. Drake Maverick gets in, goes crazy. There's fighting all over the ring, and it comes down to finally Escobar and Maverick. They don't spend much time fighting together, but it doesn't go the way Maverick hopes. As he goes up to the top rope, we see Fantasma kick his leg from under his leg. Thank you, Owen Hart. And then we have the Phantom Driver from Escobar for the 1, 2, 3. Relatively clean win. Given the match a B-, it was good. There was some really good exchanges in here. As I said, the things that marked this down a little bit was the sort of jarring between the silly buggers and the seriousness at the start. I don't know whether I wanted to see Drake pinned clean by Escobar so soon. I certainly didn't want to see Escobar lose soon, but I didn't know if I wanted to see Maverick pinned clean. I wanted maybe a little bit of shenanigan in there. Maybe. Unless there was some that I didn't see. It looked pretty clean as a whistle to me, but there was lots in here to like. The Garganos are celebrating their victory backstage, and Johnny is setting his sights next on Finn Balor. In fact, LeRae says that the Garganos have a lot of wrongs that they need to right. We're looking towards a Gargano-Balor story coming up then. all right with that. And then we get the debut. Well, I say debut, she's been here before, but this kind of feels like a re-debut, like a reimagining of Mercedes Martinez. She's facing Santana Garrett. She's the one with the cool hat and the cane. Like it. So Martinez, amazing look as she heads down to the ring. Great lighting, really cool music, that really cool face mask thing going on as well. Generally just a really strong look. When the bell sounded, the match wasn't what I kind of thought it needed to be, because we see some hard strikes from Martinez. We see Santana Garrett fighting back quite a bit, actually. Garrett gets a fair few shakes in on Martinez, but there's every time we see Santana maybe start to shift into another gear, that's where Mercedes shuts her down, either with a big boot or a big old lariat. Martinez finishes her off with a fisherman suplex buster for the 1, 2, 3. Martinez picks up the win. Now, I'm giving this a C+. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. Martinez, I was up for seeing Martinez here. I think there's lots to offer. I don't know whether she's shone in the best possible light here. I feel like there's some more work to do with Martinez. And again, I feel like this should have just been a trouncing of Santana Garrett. I feel like this should have been a real dominance established moment of Mercedes Martinez, and I didn't feel that from it. But it's a C+ because it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. I kind of hoped it'd be a little bit more. It is your uninterrupted Mountain Dew sponsored do the main event o'clock. Winner take all, loser standing small. Keith Lee, the NXT North American champion, taking on the NXT champion Adam Cole. Both belts on the line. Here we go. First off, boom 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 boom. That brought back some nostalgia pangs. That heartbeat that they do as Keith Lee and Adam Cole are walking towards the ring. Stuff like that just makes it feel big. They always nail the production on stuff like this to WWE. Keith Lee overpowers to start, unsurprisingly. Outside the ring goes Adam Cole following a push, and do you see Keith Lee, who's chatting to us at home saying, "Remember Johnny Gargano?" It looks as if he's going to go for the pounce through the plexiglass again. Runs to do it, but he's taken too long. He's hoisted by his own petard, hoisted by his own plexiglass. As Cole gets out of the way, pushes Keith Lee, and Lee goes crashing through the plexiglass. From here, Cole takes control of the match, slows things right down, and keeps Keith Lee on the ground. There's a great bit where Adam Cole goes to remove his knee pad for the last shot. And we zoom in on Keith Lee, who puts his hand over Adam Cole's as if to go, "No, you're not taking your knee pad down for that, you sucker. We've still got a match to have." And Keith Lee fights back into this. Keith Lee's comeback is halted again when he's climbing up the top rope, and he shouts out to the crowd a little quote from Ivan Drago from Rocky. "I must break him." Obviously, it's an ambiguation of a quote from Ivan Drago, but regardless, same as earlier on in the match, this moment just distracts Keith Lee long enough for Cole to get back into it, hits a backstabber, and he's back in the fight. But Keith Lee is not down for long. He hits a stunning deadlift suplex from the apron into the ring. I love that big move from Big Keith. Cole's trying to get back into this. He goes for a last shot, but Keith turns it into a spirit bomb, makes the cover, and Adam Cole hooks one finger onto the rope to break the pinfall. Literally just one finger divides Adam Cole and the end of this match. That was a really fun moment. Lee gets chopped down by Adam Cole with some big kicks in and around the head, and Adam Cole hits a last shot but only gets a 2. Panama Sunrise doesn't wield a result as well. Cole is trying everything, but Keith just keeps kicking out, and we just see Cole's face get more and more shocked and horrified as the match wears on. Cole exposes the knee, hits another last shot to Keith Lee, goes up for another Panama Sunrise, but as he does, he gets caught and dropped with a spirit bomb. Keith Lee won't let him lie down, pulls him straight back up, lets him think about it for a second, screams out into the crowd, hits a big bang catastrophe for the 1, 2, 3. Keith Lee has become the NXT champion and retained the North American Championship as well. Double champ Keith Lee. We have fireworks, confetti, farty pyro, the whole works as Keith Lee stands there holding up both belts. Amazing scenes. And then from the balcony, we see Karrion Kross and Scarlett watching on, laughing to each other. We think we know where this is going next, but the final shot that we see is of Keith Lee as your NXT double champion. Don't you? Main event for me was an A. Excellent work from both guys. Started slow. I kind of got worried that it lost its way a little bit in the middle, but any momentum that it lost, it well and truly picked up again. This was a beautifully paced match. This wasn't a 100-yard dash. This was a long striding marathon that went up a mountain, and I like the way the match was structured that way. My hat goes off to Adam Cole, who has been a hell of an NXT champion. Was this his best match as champion? I'm gonna say no, and I love Keith Lee. I think he's had better matches in my opinion, but this was still excellent work. And Keith Lee, now as the man on top of the brand, is going into some really interesting times. It looks as if we're heading towards Keith Lee versus Karrion Kross. Beyond that, who knows? But I'm excited to see what we do in the Keith Lee era of NXT. I'm giving the Great American Bash an A- overall. Lots to love in this. A really strong opening street fight. Some matches that surprised me in terms of how they were put together and what they delivered. Bronson Reed and Tony Nese, as well as Johnny Gargano and Isaiah Swerve Scott. And we have to talk about the main event. A main event that's been weeks, months, in some cases years in the making, seeing Keith Lee raising both belts. We all start wrestling as fans. Simple as. Like, before we get hypercritical, before we overanalyze every part of this industry, we are fans. And there are those moments sometimes where you are a fan again and the disbelief is suspended. Like, when I met Keith Lee in 2018, I was aware of his work, and to watch it front and center, it made me a fan. Like a real fan of Keith Lee. Like, I was encapsulated watching Keith Lee wrestle. And I know we've made a song about him, and I know that we always reference him where we can, Ross, and I know all that, but genuinely, Keith Lee is one of those guys, for me, that reminds me what it's like to be a fan again. Like, just a fan. Not somebody who does videos and grades wrestling shows. Just a fan. Just somebody that makes a cup of tea and watches wrestling and just enjoys it like that. Keith Lee's one of those guys. He is my fave. He's my fave. And yeah, I am going to be a little bit biased when I talk about him because, as you can tell now, it genuinely makes me smile to see a wrestler that I really, really love the bones off doing really, really good things. How can you not be happy to see good people and good things happening to them? Especially in the year that we've had. Long reign, Keith Lee. Thank you for the handshake and the incredible hug on the 27th of January 2018. There is a guy sat in a bedroom staring at a camera right now who genuinely hasn't forgot it. And long may you reign, sir. Stay safe. Love you, Keith.